and you're making huge margins. And the next slide. Here, this slide basically just talks about the cost structure for traditional vertical farms and greenhouses on energy, labor, depreciation. You can see where the different cost patterns are. And, essentially in this model, we buy our inputs. Energy is cheap. That's what we think. It's a throwaway culture that we live in, and there's little no vertical integration. I mean, just think about what happened recently in Texas with, the temperatures and the lack of preparation, and you had huge spikes in energy. Or just think about the Colonial Pipeline. Some knucklehead in Moscow pressed the button, ones and zeros, and shut down an entire natural gas pipeline in the United States, the largest one there. Do we really want to be dependent that way? So in the same way that we think of food independence in the model here, we should be thinking for ourselves of energy independence for our own companies, our own regions, our own areas, so that we're not dependent on something like that happening. And not only can you be independent, you can actually gain profitability from an area that we never would have thought of. And the next slide, Hal. So essentially, we basically look to, again, create a paradigm shift where we're basically looking at the cost structure, the paradigm shift from paying for the inputs to reusing and being paid to use the waste. All right, and you're increasing your capex and your depreciation. You're reducing your energy costs by 97%. We have a 50% reduction in packaging costs and transportation because we're not transporting from the West Coast. We're going to be doing it within a 150-mile radius of the New York area where this is located. And our packaging costs are slashed, just our initial upfront costs in putting together the entity that will be doing the PHA. So essentially, what you're looking at is a highly profitable operation that is dependent on one another and essentially feeds itself, is what you're looking for, creating businesses that are synergistic and feed off one another. I think one of the things that I do want to mention is that in order to get there, you have to approach this, for instance, from the knowledge that in order to be carbon negative, clean, renewable baseline generation running on renewable fuels is required to achieve carbon negative. And that requires things like the biogas digesters, the gasifiers, combined with prime gas generators. One of the interesting things that we've done recently is that we created an energy services and solution group that we're going to be developing. And the way we look at it is that you've got to have certain system design goals in mind in order to go out there, because solar is just not enough, unfortunately. And you're looking at solar, PV, and thermal. You're looking at CHP, combined heat and power, gas generators. You're looking at biogas production through gasifiers or digesters. You're looking at Icelandic microgrid. You're looking at electrical thermal energy storage, waste to energy designs, real-time circuitry, electric and biofuel vehicle equipment, N+1 redundancy and composting. All of these things combined essentially will allow you to get to carbon negative. When we're fortunate enough that we've got some potential clients now that are actually approaching us about coming out and helping them define this, because it's really more systems integration, advisory type work, where basically you have to look at every aspect of what you're doing in your business, how it's run, how it's operated, so you can achieve carbon negative and essentially allow yourself to actually complete that cycle to be in a circular economy and profitable.